Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Johan and I'm a typical Dutchman, and I react to all kinds of videos about life and living in the US or life and living in Europe. And if you like this kind of reaction videos, then please consider to subscribe to the channel. It's free for today. It's always free. But it would help me enormously, and it would, because we're still growing and getting a bigger channel yet. So help me and the algorithm, just hit the subscribe button. And for today, we're going to take a look at a video of Joe Bauer. And his title is "America was making me sick, so I moved to Europe." Okay. Let's find out why and how America was making him sick, because I hear a lot of people talking about bad food, but making sick, I don't know. Let's take a look at it and listen and react to it too.
About 15 years ago, I was living in the US and noticed my body was suddenly changing for the worse. I was commuting about 60 to 80 minutes every day by car, and by the end of the day, I could barely keep my eyes open. I definitely couldn't bring myself to exercise, so it wasn't long before I looked down and for the first time in my life, felt something, let's say, a little squishier above the belt. This is how it happened.
Okay.
This is how an otherwise healthy 20-something-year-old can blink and find themselves dealing with an array of weight and health issues by the time they hit their late 30s and early 40s. But it's not inherently their fault that this is happening. They're doing the best they can in a poorly designed system because
Wait.
inherently their fault that this is happening. They're doing the
What the? That's what I love about the United States. This kind of bridging, crossing lanes, and because we got on ground level, then we got another one here, and I think they're at the same height. So those, and then we have one here, and then another one over there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. And still this side, and together with what's coming on here, there is a congestion on a 1, 2, 3 lanes highway. Yeah, gotta love America. And the people are living here
best they can in a poorly designed system, because the United States simply isn't designed to keep you healthy and active, like I found in Europe during my 10 years of living here and traveling across the continent. Europe, I found, is designed to keep you moving. America is designed to make you sick.
Okay. His opinion. Let him explain.
My name is Joe Bauer, an American-German immigrant from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm going to show you how the way much of the United States is designed is making us sick.
Again.
And I'm going to show you how the way much of the United
States... 1, 2... No, 1 ground floor, and then this one is going over, so this is 2. Now 3. Oh boy. The worst thing you get over here in Europe is a clover leaf. And that's it. I love it. But he's an American, moved to Germany and traveled all over Europe. Okay.
States is designed is making us sick, and what the US can learn from the other side of the pond.
Again, what the people of the US can learn. They are not able to learn. They're not willing to learn. They are able, but they're not willing to learn.
I grew up in what I now know to be a pretty typical American suburb where everyone drove a car to do anything and walking was a rarity outside of the mall, and, well, that's about it. In fact, I made a video linked above about how growing up in such a car-oriented area radicalized me to loathe cars and pushed me to live someplace where I'd never need a car to do anything. Ipso facto, I live in Berlin now. But not everyone can move their lives overseas or even to a more walkable American city for that matter.
Are there more walkable cities in the United States? I want to know. Maybe there's a video about it where there's more walkable cities. Yeah.
I know this because I get comments from people complaining that they feel stuck where they live. And to be fair, nobody should have to uproot their entire lives to, be able to go for a walk that actually leads somewhere.
That actually leads, because these are sidewalks that I see. So this is walkable, but it has to go somewhere. Yeah, it needs to be with a purpose. You need to go from school to your house, or from your house to a hospital, or from your house to a restaurant or a shop, or then it has a purpose to have a sidewalk like this, and not only for the mailman to drop the mail.
So out of curiosity, I did some digging to paint a picture of where the average American lives. Interestingly, there's no clear data that says, X% lives in a suburb, X% in a city, and X% in a rural area. That's partly because there is no federal definition of what makes up a suburban area. Researchers mostly rely on how people describe where they live. And by that measure, 52% of Americans describe their neighborhood as suburban based on the latest data. 27% say urban and 21% say rural. So
Will somebody explain to me the difference between what is being said here as suburban, as urban, and rural? So these are three different types of neighborhoods besides center and the city. So suburban, and then we have an urban, that's not a suburban, but an urban, and then we have rural. And I guess rural is what we call outside the city, as in agriculture area, something like that. But suburban and urban,
based on the latest data. 27% say urban and 21% say rural. So it's safe to say that the average American is a suburbanite living in single-family homes connected by roads that lead to a mix of retail centers and low-rise office buildings. I think it's also fair to say that all of those suburbanites and their rural counterparts rely on using a car to get around all or a majority of the time. It'll surprise precisely no one that nearly 92% of Americans own at least one vehicle.
Had at least one vehicle. Sorry, I thought that he said bicycle. Vehicle. My mistake. Thinking something that, they do have bicycles, but it's not a bike, it is a vehicle and not a bicycle. 91.7%, at least one car.
As a point of reference, it's about 77% in Germany, which is considered a car country by European standards. But as you'll see later on in the video, Germans and Europeans by large don't use their car nearly as much as Americans. I was one of the weirdos who didn't own a car the last time I lived in the States, which is the closest to the 1% I'll ever be. To be clear, I don't blame Americans for owning a car. I'll sometimes get defensive comments from folks explaining all the reasons why they need a car. Like, I get it, man. I live there. I know the pressure, whether it's familial, social, or structural, to own a car. Now, I generally try not to blame individuals and rather look for the root cause of a societal problem, which in this case I'd say is too much driving and not enough walking. After all, the average American only walks roughly 4,000 to 5,000 steps a day. Compare that with another study that found that the average American makes fewer than half the walking trips per day compared to the average Briton. When it comes to driving, Americans hit roughly 13,000 miles per year. The average Briton?
13,000 miles? And it was...
When it comes to driving, Americans hit roughly 13,000...
20,000, almost 21,000 kilometers. Now I have to think. I did with my job as a teacher and going around and have my social life and doing all kinds of business trips. Yeah, 15,000 kilometers a year, including driving with my to holidays and driving with my with the bike at the back to go cycling somewhere in Germany or Belgium. almost 21,000 kilometers. That's a lot. That's a lot for a private person. If you're working here in the Netherlands or anywhere in Europe and your job is to drive around, then this is not a number. But for the average person in, I will say, the Netherlands, and then driving 21,000, that's a lot. That's a lot.
1,000 miles per year. The average Briton, 7,100 to 7,400 miles per year. Now this is also the part where someone tends to storm the comments and say, the US is whatever times bigger than Great Britain. You can't compare the two. Well, I can, and I just did. There will never be an apples to apples comparison between the US and another country.
Yeah, they are right. If you drive over here in the Netherlands for 3 hours, you're driving from all the way south, where I'm living, to all the way up to the north, almost to the coast or into Germany, then you have 3.5 hours drive. In the United States, if you drive for 3 hours, you're driving to your next door neighbor, something like that. Yeah, I can imagine. It's not comparable at all, no.
Because every country and culture is different. But the overarching truth remains the same no matter who we compare ourselves to. Americans just don't walk very much, but they drive a lot. So why do Americans drive so much? Well, they're designed to drive. The US is designed for driving, not Americans themselves. Americans are humans just like anyone else, built exceptionally well for walking and running. Thanks, evolution! But the places Americans live are designed to push us into a car as often as possible. And it's that heavy imbalance favoring driving against more active transportation that's making us sick. If the average American is a suburbanite, then the average American is living in an environment designed around car-dependent layouts featuring low-density development with a separation of land uses. Essentially,
yeah. Let's finish him, because I was thinking about, car dependency is brought on by the oil industry so that they can sell petrol, as you call it in the United States, gas, and make profit of it, etc., etc.
Meaning you can't build a business and residential area on top of one another. This spreads everything out, making walking a less appealing mode of transportation. Now, of course, you could ride a bike instead, which would be a much healthier form of transportation, both for the rider and passersby who prefer breathing fresh air instead of the poison cars are spitting out. But this is how many suburban roads are designed, with wide roads that make speeding easier, usually without separate infrastructure for bikes. Sure, some have gotten better about adding painted bike lanes, but as we've seen time and time again, paint isn't infrastructure and isn't likely to stop assholes from being assholes. Now, seeing as how you're a reasonable person who doesn't want to get killed or put up with a threatening 4,000-pound weapon, you adopt a if you can't beat them, join them mentality. Because even if you wanted to move into a more walkable area, those places are becoming prohibitively expensive. A truly walkable American neighborhood where you can access everything you need safely by foot or bike is such a rarity that homes, condos, and apartments in these areas go for a premium. And since you can't individually upend roughly 70 years of car-oriented development overnight, you just join the club of average Americans who live in a suburb and own a car. You are another victim to American design. And we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet.
Ooh. Oh boy. I never seen this word. A sedentary problem? Hopefully he explains, because I have no clue what he's talking about.
Most adult Americans are living in the suburbs by their late 20s and early 30s, if they ever even left the suburbs in the first place. This is around the time Americans start gaining noticeable weight compared with their college years. Now, most tend to chalk this up to a changing metabolism, But here's the thing, a 2021 study found that our metabolism is actually pretty stable throughout our 20s, 30s, and 40s. Our metabolism doesn't really begin to slow down until about 60. But it is definitely true that the average American gains noticeable weight during those decades. A BYU study found that, on average, Americans gained 17.6 pounds between their 20s and 30s, 14.3 pounds between their 30s and 40s, and 9.5 pounds between their 40s and 50s. Now, this study doesn't say specifically why this weight gain is happening.
Sugar.
But I can't help but notice that the largest weight gain the average American experiences in their adult lives coincides with the same time period most are moving to the suburbs. This is also when most are starting their careers, maybe even getting married and having kids. Suburban life as an adult is wildly different than when you're a kid. Sure, I was driven everywhere where I grew up, but I was playing sports almost all of the time. Even in the States where most kids are either driven to school or take a bus that picks up right outside their house, there are many opportunities to be active. As an adult, you've got to, earn a living. And because of how the US is designed, earning that living often involves upwards of 290 hours of driving a year.
290 hours on the road. Americans spent an average of 17,600 minutes driving each year. I have no clue. I cannot compare with... 290 hours. I'm calculating in my head because I had a job, and to get to my job, I had a 25 minutes drive, parking in the parking garage, etc. So 1 hour a day, 5 hours a week, 200 hours a year. Am I correct? 5 hours a week, 40 weeks? Yeah, 200 hours a year. So, this is not that strange even for here. For in 290. Yeah, this is reasonable. If I am calculating with me, it's half an hour, 5 hours a week, 40 hours a week to my job to get into my 40 weeks. So 40 more 5 is 200. Yeah. It's average. It's not that spectacular more than I have done, and I guess a lot of other Europeans. It's not that much.
Year. That's the equivalent of 7 work weeks. So what does all that driving do to your health? In short, it's not great. When you're walking, muscle contractions in your legs help pump blood back up to your heart. That's why walking generally feels refreshing and helps wake you up. But sitting in a car immobilizes you, lowering your blood flow, dropping oxygen to your brain, and fatigue starts to settle in. That's one of the physical consequences of being sedentary, something that's already unavoidable in many of our jobs.
Sedentary. It's still not clear to me.
But at the same time, driving is a highly demanding cognitive task without physical stimulation. It's pretty much the opposite of walking, which is physically stimulating with low cognitive demand and is associated with reduced stress and mental fatigue. Having lived both sides of this, I can tell you the difference is night and day. I felt so drained after my car commute. All I wanted to do was be a slug on the couch. When I had to get to the office in Berlin or Dusseldorf, I felt energized because I was walking on both ends of my bus return ride, or I was cycling. So to recap, the US is designed to make you sick because American city planners and governments have worked hard over the past 70-some years to push us into cars by designing entire communities around car use. According to
Okay. I cannot argue against that. Yeah, I believe that
a study published in the National Library of Medicine, the average American spends nearly 8 hours of the day in a sedentary position. And that same study ties
sedentary position, as in non-active, as in what I'm doing right now, sitting in a chair, looking at a monitor. Okay, get it.
sedentary behavior with a wide range of health issues, including cardiovascular disease mortality, cancer risk, and risks of metabolic disorders such as diabetes, hypertension, and then depression and cognitive impairment. There's also an increased risk of all-cause mortality. Now, I'll admit I have no idea what that is. It sounds vague, but also scary and like something I very much don't want. Joe here with glasses, which means I just looked up what it is, and it basically just means ways you die. And the cherry on top of all this is that once the US makes you sick by its design, you're thrust into one of the world's most expensive and notoriously exploitative healthcare systems.
Yeah.
After all, medical debt is one of the leading causes of personal bankruptcy in the country. Now, it's not all bleak in the US. As I've covered before on this channel, Americans do want more walkable communities. The data shows this. We just have to advocate for them and not be a bunch of NIMBYs about it when proven solutions are brought to the table. We all know that driver with the gargantuan SUV who says, well, they're okay with bike lanes in theory, but when it takes up a car lane that they sometimes drive on, they suddenly feel their rights are being trampled upon. We also gotta get out of our own way. A new bike lane or transit project will get scrutinized to the point of haggling over every last detail until the idea is killed, whereas new highways or highway expansions tend to get rubber stamped because, well, there's traffic. Even though we already know for a fact that more lanes don't alleviate traffic, it just exacerbates the problem. Some people think it's only possible in a big city like Chicago or New York to live a healthy, walkable life. But in this video, you can join me in my beloved hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, to see how I lived car-free for 4 years in the city, and how things are only getting better.
Okay. Interesting video. Not what I expected. But he's talking about the car dependency in the United States, and that's making him and other people, sick, or at least vulnerable to all kinds of illnesses. It was not the one that because he was talking about living in Germany, so he gonna compare it with Germany and make comparison between how it is in the US and how it is in Germany, but he didn't. But he was advocating that people should walk more in the United States, and that there should be some kind of resistance of more people asking of their politicians locally, because federally it won't help, because the car industry wants to make money and the oil industry wants to make money, so it won't help to ask to your to the federal government to do something, but you can do something, as I understand, in your local government and in your city, that they make more walkable areas, or at least some sidewalks that make it possible to go to a shop. I heard someone lately said, they have made a 16-mile sidewalk, but it leads to nothing. One sidewalk, 16 miles, going from A to B, where A is nothing and B is nothing, and there's only that won't work. You need to connect and make sure that sidewalk has actually a function, as in people going to school, or people going to a shop, or do their job, or whatever. But just making a sidewalk or a bicycle path from A to B with no real destinations on it, nobody's going to use it. And then they say, they spent a lot of money on this sidewalk and nobody uses it. Yeah, because it goes nowhere. But okay. But that's what he was talking about. Yeah, I understand it. And he moved to Germany to be more healthy in a more walkable area and not using the car, but using more and more public transportation. He made a good argument. I hope that his former fellow Americans understand. And that a lot of people try to live healthier. If you like this kinds of videos, then maybe this is a good one to see too, and otherwise it would be really appreciated if you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.